Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to the Japan Study Center. Today we are going to see the chapter of geography and what is our topic today? India has a physical feature. There is a physical feature is the most important here. The topic arrive here location, extent and the boundaries of the India. There is a most important here topic location, extent and boundaries of India. How a landmarks of South Asia is a flanked by the new fault towering to the mountain on the northwest, northern east. The Arabian Sea lies to be a southwest to the Bay of West of Bengal to the southeast and the Indian Ocean to it is a south. This valley is a defined Asian landmark is called to the Indian subcontinent. The subcontinent consists of the country of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan and included to the Sri Lanka and its land is not by separated by the Park Strait. India is a long cover about the 3/4 of the area of the subcontinent and has the common container with each one of them. She along with here five neighborhood country here the from a clear identifiable geographical unit with a contain a common cultural is a parameters here. Here's the all time their country has been to now known by there's a various names such as Arya, Bharata, Bharat, Hindustan and Italic India. There is a most important point here. So the all time the country has been to known by the various names such as Aryavata, Bharat and Hindustan is the Italic Indian. The Indian Ocean is a Hind Mahasagar has also been to name it after the Indian. There are only country to be a so. According to the Constitution of India, the country is known as the Bharat or India. There is a most important here. India lies the wall in their northern hemisphere. The Indian is a mainland extend be between to the 8 there is a 44 and to the north and 37.6 is the northern latitude and from the 68 to east and 97.25 is the east longitude. Thus the latitude and longitude extent of the India of about 29 degrees. It is a measure about 3,214 kilometer from north to the south and the 2,933 kilometer from east to the west. Though the latitude and longitude extent is almost the same, the actual distance to do the differ considerable. And why it is so? This is because the east-west is a distance between two successive is a meridian of longitudes along the equator is at it is a maximum 1,100 is 1,011 kilometers here, and this is however goes on the decrease as one the moving from equator to the pole where it is a zero. The equator to be a pole here where is the zero, and this is because all the meridians of the longitudes meet in the single point at the pole and both north and south here. On the other hand, the north and south distance between any two successive is a parallel of the latitudes along only meridians of the latitudes remaining almost uniform. The 111 kilometers is the most important point here. The following table may be further clarify this point. 111 kilometers, the point of clarifying this table. The here show the degree of latitude and distance between two successive latitudes in a kilometers here. The 0 here is a 111 kilometer and 10 is a 109 and 20 is 104, 30 is a 96 and 40 is an 85. And this all the right now there is a degrees of latitude of 90. There is a kilometer, there is a 0. There is a most important point here. The glass at the globes is should be help the conveyances this point, and the northern is the most point of the Indian mainland lies in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and the southernmost point is a Kanyakumari in the Tamil Nadu. However, there is a southernmost point of the country as wall lies further south in Andaman and Nicobar Island. It is now called the Indra Point. Is a here Andaman and Nicobar Island. It is now as the called Indra Point. It is situated at the 630 north latitudes. The westmost is a point of India lies of Gujarat and the eastmost is a Arunachal Pradesh. There is an important here. Let you us see there is an impact of such a large latitudinal extent upon the lives of the peoples of India. The northern part of the country are quite far off from the equator, and therefore the ray of the sun strike those parts more oblique, and consequently this part of the country receive a lesser amount of the insolations and has a cold climate unlike their southern parts. Secondly, it is an important point here, the difference between the length of the day and the night in the southernmost part of India is a much less, only about 45 minutes, as they are situated too near to the equator, and this difference between day and the night in the northern part of India as it goes on the increasing till it becomes as much as 5 hours. The topics of cancer pass almost halfway through the country. There is important here. The tropical cancer of pass almost halfway through their countries, and thus the half of the country to be south of the tropical cancer is situated in the tropical and tourist row zone, and the other half lying is in north of tropics is a cancer fall in the subtropical zone. There is an important point here. The tropics of the cancer pass almost halfway through the countries, and thus half of the country to be south of the tropic of cancer is situated in the tropical and tourist zone, and the other half lying north of the tropical of cancer fall in the subtropically zone. That is important. The earth takes a 24 hours to be a complete over rotation on its axis. The sun rises the first in the east, and then it is a west because the earth is rotated from west to east. The earth has a longitudinal exponent to be 360 is the cover in the 24 hours at the pace of the 15 degrees per hour. As the longitudinal extent of India is a nearby 29 Celsius, and the real time difference in India between its extent to western extremity of the roughly of 2 hours. Well, at there is still is a extremity of India, their day may be have just broken out, their western extremity of would be take nearly is another 2 full hour to do so. There is a important here. To iron out their big chunk of the time difference, India, like all other countries of the world, follow the local size of the relative central meridians as the standard time for the whole country. For the conventionally of all each country's choose, it is a standard meridian in a multiply of 330s. And according to the standard meridian of India has been chosen to the 82 degrees 30 s east. The north central part of the India is a border while there is the south part of tapered down to be brought to the Indian Ocean in a south. Thus, the northern part of the Indian Ocean has been divided into two ways by their sheer presence of India Peninsula. The western part of the northern India's ocean is called Arabian Sea, and while the eastern part is called Bay of Bengal. The total length of the coastline of the India included the island groups in about 7,560.2 kilometer. The bulk is the separated India in mainland from Sri Lanka, and structurally the Sri Lanka is on extension of the peninsular block of India. There is an important point here. The northern central part of India is bordered with their southern part taper down to the border of India and Oceans south. And the northern part of the Indian Ocean is divided into two ways. There is important here. The presence of Indian Peninsula, and there is a part of northern India Ocean called Arabian Sea, and there is important an island group is about a size here 7,516.6 kilometer. There is important and interesting point here. According to the Indian physical feature, the next point here of size. The size is the most important here. The wherein the size here, the India has account for a 2.42% of the world as a total land area. There is the India is occupy only for the 2.42% of the world total land of area here, and whereas it is a substance is a 60% of the world population. 60% here a world population, the number 2 of the population of the India here. You will know more about it. The lesson number 26 on population of India. The land is a fortune of the Indian measuring 15,200 kilometer. There is important here. The land containers of India is measuring to the 15,200 kilometer, and Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Nepal, Myanmar, and Bangladesh share a common boundaries with India. There is an important point here. The Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Nepal, Myanmar, and the Bangladesh share the common boundaries with India. The kingdom of the Bhutan is situated in the eastern Himalayas. There is important here. The kingdom of Bhutan is situated in the eastern Himalaya. It is a small country, and the responsibility of the defense rests with the India. Most of our is the boundaries with the Pakistan and Bangladesh is almost the man-made. There is important point. With the Pakistan and Bangladesh almost man-made, there is no mountain range or the river from the natural boundaries. There is no mountain range or river to form our natural boundaries. The international boundary of India is a pass through of a variety of landform. The international boundary of India pass through a variety of the landform. The barren desert land is a dense green agricultural and the field gushing rivers known as the cloud mountain as well as a dense forested mountain range, and their defense such as international boundaries is a passing through the various kind of tournament to content are different job here, and India is a soldier is therefore exposed to the various type of extremely hostile condition on the course of the his duty. The sometime he is posted on the ice gold glacier. There is an important point here. Sometime he is posted on the ice called glacier. At the time he has to bear there there of the warning sun, and he has to be faced in the hot sand of the desert. After there is the posted in there is a Mars is a river rings running and think is a forest track of the northern east. Our country has to spend crores of rupees daily for the defense of such a long and inhospitable boundary that is a pass through various kind of terrain. There is important point here. The important table here that is arrived that India stands at the head of the Indian Ocean that span the continent of the Asia, Africa, and Oceania is providing to further link to the other continents through the Pacific Ocean and Antarctica Oceans. In the Indian subcontinent, India is the only country to be shared it is a land for tenors with every member country of the subcontinent. There is an important point here. The in India subcontinent, India is the only country to share its land for tenor with every member of country of the subcontinent. In area, India is the seventh largest country in the world. Put in a population, it stands next only to China. The variation in the local time between the eastern and the western extremity of their Indian is of the 2 hours, and this has been to minimize to be contained extend by the adopting 82 to 30 east longitude as the standard median of India for calculating Indian standard time will follow through the over watches. Most important topic here, the Great Northern Mountain. The Great Northern Mountain. There is a most important, the Great Northern Mountain here. Then include their mountain and plateaus of the northern Kashmir, the Himalayas proper and hill of the Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram, and Tripura and the Meghalayas. They are divided into three groups there. There is an important point here. Then include a mountain and plateaus of the northern Kashmir, the Himalayas proper and the hill of the Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura and Meghalayas. They are divided into three groups here. The first here, the Himalayas. Second here, the Trans-Himalayas. And third here is a Purvachal or hill of the northern east. That is the most important point here. Three. There are first arrive here. The Himalayas. Himalayas is the most important area. This is the highest mountain range of the world. There is an important point here. This is the highest mountain range of the world. It is turned into the shape of on the arc for a distance of about 2500 kilometers from base to east along the northern boundary of India between to the Indo-Zars is the Jammu and Kashmir in the west and Brahmaputra and goes in the Arunachal Pradesh in the east. You know that there is a most important point here. There is the highest mountain range in the world of the Himalayas. It is turned to the shape on the arc, the distance about 2500 kilometers from west to east along the northern boundary of India. Between the Indos, goes the Jammu and Kashmir in the west and Brahmaputra, goes and Arunachal Pradesh in the east. The breadth of the Himalayas range between to the 400 kilometer in the west to the 150 kilometer in the east. The area covered by this is a mountain system in about 5 lakh square kilometer. The mountain system is about 5 lakh square kilometer. It has a three major range. There is an important point here. It has a three major range here, and this range are separated by deep valley and plateaus. Important here. These range are separated by the deep valleys and plateaus. The southern slope of Himalayas is facing India are stepper and those facing their Tibetan and side of generally gentler. In the east, Himalayas as rises almost is evaporated from the plains of West Bengal and Assam. That is important here. Himalayas rise almost evaporates and from the plain of West Bengal and Assam. That is why two of the highest peak of the Himalaya. There is an important point here. That is the highest peak of the Himalayas here. First here, Mount Everest. The Mount Everest in Nepal and the Kanchenjungas are not very far for the plan. There is important. The Mount Everest is in Nepal and the Kanchenjunga are not very far for the plan. On the other hand, the best part of the Himalayas rise others gradually form a plains, and as the higher peak in his part are further from the plains and a number of range lies between to the plains and high peak. The high peak of his part such as Nanga, Parthabat and Nanda Devis and the Brahmanath are very far from the plains. Three parallel ranges can be identified in the Himalayas. There are most important here. Himgiri, Himachals and Sivalik. There is important here. Himgiri, Himachals and Sivalik here. The first point here, Himgiri is the Great Himalayas. Himgiri is important here. This is the northernmost and the highest range of the Himalayas. And this is the only range of Himalaya which maintain it is a continuity from the base to east. The core of this range is made up of the granite rock and flanked by the metamorphic and sedimentary rock. The extent of this range is between to the Parbat. Naga Parbat is a peak is 8,126 meter. 8,126 meter in the base and the Namachal peak is 7,756 meter in the east. The average height of this is a range from the sea level is about 6,100 meter. There is an important point here. And over 100 peak have a highest of the more than to average height of the range. The highest peak of the world is a Mount Everest. The Mount Everest, the peak here, 8,848 meters is important here. 8,848 meter. The second is a Naga Parbat peak. It means N2 is important here. It is a situation in the range is a Kanchenjunga, is a Makula, is a Devagiris and a Annapurna and the sum of the other peak having a height of the more than 8,000 meters. There is important here 8,000 meter and Kanchenjunga is the highest peak of the Himalaya in India. There is an important point here. The Himalayan range is a snow is cloud throughout the year and there are a number of larger and smaller glaciers. After the melting of snow and ice, There are waterfall in there is river of the northern Indian, making them to the peninsulas throughout their years. The Gangotri and the Himantri are good example of such a glacier. Show the is the Indian physiographical division. The most important here map. There is a map here is the most important. The first here the northern mountain is the Pakistan Himalaya theirs and great northern plain is the dot dot there is the Punjab and Delhi and Uttar Pradesh and Deccan plateau is the almost all of over the India and western desert here the Rajasthan side and there is an important point here and the western coastal area is Gujarat and the Goa and the some of the Kanyakumaris here and the eastern coastal plain is the most important here the other sides are Calcutta there. There is important here map. The Himgiri range can be crossed through the some passes like Zwela, Silipika and the Nitin Nathula. This is extremely important here. And the B here, Himachal. The Himachal is the most important here. The lesser and middle Himalaya, it is the localite to the southward of their Himgiri. The breadth of Himachal range is a 60 to 80 kilometer and the height the various from of 1000 meter to 4500 meter. There is important here and some of the peak of this range have a height of the more than 5000 meter and this range is highly distracted and there are uneven. Rock in this zone has been to the metamorphosis is due to the volunteer thrust and compressions. Therefore, this range is a mainly is a consist of the metamorphosis rock. The gently slope of the eastern part of this range are covered with the dense forests. The south-facing slope of the other part of this range are very steep and generally devoid to the vegetation area. And the northern-facing gently is a slope of this range are covered by the dense vegetation. The Pir Panjal is a Jammu and Kashmir and the Duar is a Himachal Pradesh are the local name of this range. The Beauty Valley of Kashmir stand between to the Pir Panjal and Himgiri range. And the famous valley of Kullu and the Kangra are also is a part of the Himachal range. They are important here. And the most of the hills towns are historic to the town and located in the Himachal range, Simla, Nainital, Mussoorie, Almora and the Darjeeling are some such a famous hill town. There are number of the beauty lake around to the Nainital. The next here, Sivalik. Sivalik is our outer Himalaya. The southernmost range of Himalaya is there known as the Sivalik. There is an important here. The Himgiri and Himachal range of the Himalayas have been to form it much before their formation of the Sivalik range. The river arising to the Himgiri and Himachal's range is both to travel and sand and muds along with there is them which was deposited in the rapidly shrinking is the terrace sea. In the course of their time, the earth movement is causing the folding of this relative fresh deposit of sediment given to rise to be least considering a Sivalik range. And the average height of the Sivalik range is very low, about a 600 meter only. And there is a some border valley is between to the Himachal and Sivalik range, and this valley are known as the Dun. Dehradun is a valley is one of the best example here. The next here, the Trans-Himalaya range. There is the most important here, the Trans-Himalayas range. There are some mountain range to be north of Himgiri in Jammu and Kashmir. There are some mountain range to the north of Himgiri in Jammu and Kashmir. The range is extended to the north of the Himgiri and running to the parallel to is called Jaskar range. There is important here. The running is parallel to it is called Jaskar ranges. And north of the Jaskar range is the Ladakh range. The river Indo flow to the northwest between the Jaskar and Ladakh range. They are important here. Jaskar and Ladakh range. Many scholars treat the Jaskar and Ladakh is range as a part of Great Himalayas and include them to the Kashmir Himalayas. They are important here. And there is the northern of the Ladakh range of the Karakorams. The Karakorams is important here, and the name of the Karakoram is the Sanskrit literatures is Krishnagiri. K2 is 8,611 meter, the second highest peak here. In the highest peak of the Karakorams mountain, and this is the second highest peak of the world, and the next only to the Mount Everest. The Mount Everest is the first highest peak, and the second here K2. The K2 is the most important peak in here on Himalaya region. Ladakh Plateau is situated in the northern eastern part of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and this plateau is very high and varied if from on the remote areas of our country. There is important here. Jammu and Kashmir, this is plateau is very high and right if from one of the remote as the area of our country. The next here, Purvachal. The Purvachal is the most important here. Purvachal is the name given to all the hills of the northern eastern India, and behind is Brahmaputra Gogari. Brahmaputra Gogari is important here. The average height of these hills from a sea level is of 500 to 3,000 meters, and these hills are located in the southern Arunachal Pradesh, and these hills are located in the southern Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, and Meghalaya. There is an important part here. These hills are located in the southern Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, and the Meghalayas. The Missemings is a Patkoi Booms, Naga, Manipur is a Mizos, Luskais, and Tripura are the major hill range of these regions. And Meghalaya is a plateau is also part of these hills of the north-eastern region. And these plateaus include the hill of the Gergo, Khasi, and Jayanta. Structurally, however, it is a part of the peninsula India. The important point here, the Himgiri is a Himachals and Sivalik are three major ranges of the Himalayas. There is important here, Himgiri, Himachal, and Sivalik is the three major range of Himalayas. And the Jaskar, the Ladakh, and the Karakorams is along with there is eastern extensions is a Kailash is in a Tibet are the 10 Himalayas range. And Missims, Patakoi, Boom, and the Naga, Manipur, Mizo, Tripura, etc. are the hill range of the Purvachal. There is an important part here. The next topic is important here. The Great Northern Plan. There is an important. The Great Northern Plan here. This plan extends from to the west to the east, between to Himalaya in the north and Great Indian Plateau in the south. The plan extends from to the arid and semi-arid area of Rajasthan in the west to be Brahmaputra Valley in the east. There is important here Rajasthan in the west and Brahmaputra Valley in the east. The area of this plan is the more than 7 lakh square kilometer. This area of this plan is more than 7 lakh square kilometer. 7 lakh square kilometer is important here, and this plan is very fertile and a very sizable part of the Indian population live in the innumerable village and several big cities in this region. There is an important part here. Rajasthan is the best to be Brahmaputra Valley in the east, and the area of this plan is a more than 7 lakh square kilometer, and this plan is a very fertile and a very sizable part of the Indian population live in the is a numerable village and several big city in this region. This plant is made up of the soil brought down and deposited by their river flowing from to the Himalaya in the north and the Great Indian Plateau in the south. The river has been to the depositing their sediment in the plant over million of years, and therefore aluminiums in the plant in quite a few hundred meter deep. In a sum of the part of the depth of the sediment is such as 2000 to the 3000 meter. There is stability important here, and this plan is almost dead flat. You know that there is important here. This plain is almost dead flat. Its average height is a 200-meter above the mean sea level. This is important here. 200 meter above the means of sea level here, and due to the very gently slope to about the sea. The river in this plan flow very is leisurely and it is a time was leisurely. This is important point here. Where is lazy and there is a leisurely, there is an important. The slope from the Varanasi up to the Mao is a month of Ganga is the only 10 centimeter per kilometer. There's important here. The slope from Varanasi up to month of Ganga is only 10 centimeter per kilometer. The land around the Ambala is a bit more elevated, and however it is act as a water divided between the two major river basin here. The first, the Satluj in the west and Ganga is the east. The basin is important here. Satluj in the west and Ganga is the east. River lining of state what of this water divided flow into the Bay of Bengal, while those west of its flow into the Arabian Sea. The important here, the river lining the state ward of this water divided flow into the Bay of Bengal, while those west of its flow into the Arabian Sea. The relatively is a higher part of the plan is called Bhangar. The relative higher part of plan is called Bhangar, and this area is a neighbor to the cover with the flood water of river. There is an important here. This area is a neighbor cover with the flood water of the river. Contrast yes, this is a comparatively lower area is called Khadar. The lower area is called to the Khadar, and this area is flooded by stream almost every year. Khadar is are known as the bit in a Punjab. Important point here, the relative higher part of the plant is called to the Bangar, and this area is a neighbor to cover with the flood water is the river. There is an important, and here Khagar is the contrary of this is a comparative lower area is called Khadar. The lower area is called to the Khadar, and this is a flooded stream almost every year. The important point here, and Khadar is the area is a known as a belt is a Punjab. There is the strip of land about 10 to 50 kilometer. There is important. There is the strip of land about 10 to 50 kilometer broad along their outer slope of the Sivalik in a Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. There is important here. The 10 to 50 kilometer bordered along to the outer slope of the Sivalik in the Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. And this region is known as the Babar. Babar there is called here. And this stream is a Babar. Babar is made of the grapes as a coarse sand. The smaller streams disappear under growth in the Babar region during the summer season, and there are water surface again after crossing to the Babar, and this water is accumulated in the strip of the plan about 15 to 30 kilometer wide and extended to the south of Bhadabar. An accumulation of this water make the land marshes, and the marshes is the land is called to the Terai, and many part of the Terai is has been to reclaim for the agriculture purpose. That is important here. The part of Terai is has been to the reclaimed for the agriculture purpose. The great northern plains can be divided into four parts. This is important here. The Great Northern Plan can be divided into four parts: Base Plan, Northern Central Plan, Eastern Plan, and Brahmaputra Plan. There is a four part is most important, and here explain here. The first here, Western Plan. Western Plan here, this region is include the Rajasthan desert and Bhagar regions. Line to west of Aravallis range is important here. The desert is a partly is rocky and partly is a sandy. The rocky and sandy. In this ascent period, the peninsula is streams Saraswati and Dvatis is a flowing through the region. There is important here Saraswati and there is Dvati is flow through this region, and this region include to the fertile area of the Bikaner. And rivers Luni flow through this is a Bengal region and fall into the runners of the Katancha. There are famous saltwater lake of Sambar is situated in this part of the plan. There is an important part here. And northern central plan is also important. This plan extends over to the Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. The part of this plan is extending into Punjab and Haryana has been to the formed by the aluminum through by the river Satluj, Byas, Ravi. There is an important here river of here Satluj and Vyas and Ravi, and this is a very fertile area is here. And this part of this plan is a lining of Uttar Pradesh is made up of the deposit laid down by the river like Ganga, Yamuna, is a Ram, Ganga and Gomatri, Ghagra and Gandak. There is the most important river flow in the Uttar Pradesh. Ganga, Yamuna, Ram Ganga, Gangotri, Ghagra and Gandak. This part of land is highly fertile and has been to cattle Indian civilization in culture. There is the most important area here. And the next year, Eastern Plan. The Eastern Plan is the most important here. This part of the Great Plan covers their middle and the lower Ganga valleys lying in the state of Bihar and West Bengal. Okay, there is important here. This part of the Great Plan is to cover the middle and the lower Ganga valley lying in the state of Bihar and West Bengal. Ganga flow through the middle of this plan is Bihar and Ghagra is a Koshi and Gandak joined to Ganga from the north and will sun joined to the south. There is important here. The Ghagra, Koshi and Gandak joined to Ganga from to the northern will the sun join for the south. On the entering of West Bengal, the plan is abandoned further extending from the foothill of the Himalayas up to the Bay of Bengal. And this southern part of the plan is the delta region. This southern part of plan is the delta region. Ganga is divided into the several distributaries in the delta region. Hooghly is the best example of distributary of Ganga. Hooghly is there a best example of distribution of Ganga here, and this part of land is needed very fertility and more raining here. This is important. The fertility area are more rainy. The next here, Brahmaputra plan. Brahmaputra is the most important here. Brahmaputra, there is the northern eastern part of the Great Indian Plan extend into the Assam. And this plan has been to formed by the deposition of elements is both down by the river Brahmaputra. And it is a tributaries. The Brahmaputra is a highly important to the diverse streams flood at the regular interval. After the flood, the river generally change into the course, and this process has led to the formation of various islands in the river. Majuli, the 1,250 square kilometer in the Brahmaputra river is the world as a largest river in the Iceland. And this part is also very fertile. It is surrounded by hill from three sides. Bangladesh is situated on this plan and the delta joined from it by the Ganga and Brahmaputra and there are distributaries. Here the important here box, important point arrive their conclusion types. The Great Northern Plan has been to formed by aluminum's deposit and both their rivers flowing from to Himalayas and Great Indian Plateaus. And the plan is a dead flat with the almost negligible slope. The plan is of the two types of Bhangar and Khadar. There is an important here. The Great Northern Plan can be divided into four parts. West Plan, North Central Plan, Eastern Plan and Brahmaputra Plan. There is an important here. The next here, the Great Indian Plateaus. There is an important here. The Great Indian Plateaus. The Great Indian Plateaus lies to the south of the Great Northern Plan here. The Great Indian Plateaus lies in the south of Great Northern Plan here. And this is the largest is a physiographical division of our country. There is important here. This is the largest physiographical division of our country. It is a cover as an area of about 16 lakh square kilometer. There are 16 lakh square kilometer. There is a one important area, and about half of the total area of the country. And this on the all rocky plateaus region. The topograph is a consist of a series of plateaus and a hill range in the interspace with the rivers valleys. Aravali Hill is a mark the northern western boundary of the plateau and region. It's a northern and a northern eastern boundary is a marked by their northern edges of the Bandal Bundelkhand and plateaus Kamur and the Rajmahal is a hill. There is an important here. Bundelkhand is an important plateau here. And there are western is a Ghat, Sahyadris and eastern Ghat is a mark. The western and eastern is a boundaries. Respectively, there is a great plateaus. Most of the area of plateaus has a height of the more than 400 meter above the sea level here. The highest point of plateau region in the Amanudis peak is 2,965 meter. There is a very above there here. The generally slope of this plateau is to be toward to the east. And the Great Plateau is a part of every ascent. The landmass is called Gandavan land. Gandavan land is most important. The Great Plateau is a part of the very ascent landmark is called Gondwana land. From the earliest time it has been to above the level of sea, and therefore it has been to subjected to the large scale generations. And is a mountain are generally of Jurassic types, and they are composed of very hard rocks which have withstood their ravages of degradations is more effective than the surrounding regions. Because of their old age, all the rivers has almost attained there is a base level and have a build up body and the shallow valley. The dominant rock is a formation, especially those in the southern part, are their metaphoric origin with the frequently occurrence of granite. There is an important point. The river Narmada is divided. The peninsular block of India is a two part. The river Narmada divides the peninsular block of India in two part, and this region lying to be a north of Narmada is called to the center is a highland, and there are region lying to be a south of Narmada is called their peninsular plateau. The more commonly is referred to as the Deccan plateaus here. A glance at the map would be point out that Varings, the Narmada and Tapti, all the major rivers lying to be south of the Vindhyas, flow to the eastward to fall into the Bay of Bengal. The best word is flow to the Narmada and Tapti is assigned to be a fact that they has been to the flowing thought is a fault or is a reflect which very probably is a causing when to the Himalayas began to the emerge from the tipsy sea of their olden time. That are important here on the chances sea of the olden time here. The first one there here are Central Highland. There is an important. The Central Highland. It is stand between river Narmada and Great Northern Plains here. The Aravallis from to the west northern western edges of the Central Highland. This hills is extend from to Gujarat through the Rajasthan to Delhi in the northeasterly is direction for a distance about the 700 kilometer. The 700 kilometer, the height of these hills is about 1,500 meter in a southwest well near Delhi. They are hardly is a 400 meter height. The highest peak of the Aravalli hill is the Gursikhar is a 1,722 meter. The near Mount Abu and Mount Abu on the border of the Gujarat and Rajasthan is a beautiful hill station. There is an important here. There is a Mount Abu and Mount Abu on the border Gujarat and Rajasthan is a beautiful hill station. The reason to be east of the Aravalli is the highest dissected and the uneven Malwa plateaus from the dominant part of the central land. There is an important point here. It lies to be a northeast of the Arabian and to be north of the Vindhyachal range. The river Chambal is a bit up and the Kendran is the Malwa plateaus before the join Yamuna. The part of the central highland which extends to be east of the Malwa plateau is known as the Bundelkhand, and the further flow by there is a Bangakhand, and the well now is a Chota Nagpur plateaus. The Bangakhand and there is a known as the Chota Nagpur plateaus. Vindhyachal is a range formed to the southern edges of the Malwa plateau. The Maldives is a hill and the Camus Hills is a Malika range lies to about to the further east. The slope of Vindhyachal is a range to about the Narmada Valley is the absolute step and form to the escarpment. It only is confirmed that is the Narmada flow through the Rift Valley, and this range has a very few passes. Due to this fact of Vidyas added there a barrier between to the northern and the southern part of India from a long time in a past. The valley of the Narmada is situated between to the Satpuras and the Vindhyas river. Narmada is a flow from the east to west in this valley and the fall into the Arabian Sea. There is a fall into the Arabian Sea here, and this valley has been to form due to the subsidence of the land marks between two Vindhyas and Satpuras. The next point is the most important here, the Peninsular Plateaus. Peninsular Plateaus is known as the Deccan Plateaus also. You know that? The Peninsular Plateaus is called to the Deccan Plateau. Deccan Plateau is called to the Peninsular Plateau. They are same here. And this is a physiographical division is the largest region of Great Indian Plateau. The shape of this plateau is rectangular. One of the sides of this triangular is marked by the line joining Kanyakumaris with the Rajmahal Hill, and this line is a pass through the Eastern Ghat, and there is a Kanyakumari with the Rajmahal Hills, and this line pass through the Eastern Ghats. The second arm is marked by the Satpura range. Mahadev Hills is a Malika range and the Rajmahal Hill, and the third arm is marked by there is a Sadhari's Western Ghat. The area of this peninsular plateau is about 7 lakh square kilometer, and the height ranges from the 500 to 1000 meter above the sea level. There is a most important point here. The Sahadharis range from the sharp edges of peninsular plateau. It is a longer escarpment running parallel to the Arabian Sea, and coasts are simply breathtaking. Due to its location on the western meridian of the peninsular plateaus, the Sahadhari range is also called to the Western Ghat. You know that there is an important point here. It's a longer escarpment is running parallel to the Arabian Sea, and the coastal area simply breathtaking. And due to its location on the western meridian of the peninsular plateau, the Sahadhari range is also called to the Western Ghats. The world is a ghat, also is a mean a step like a mountain, and therefore this English name of the Sahadhari is the meaningful here. The height of the Sahadhari is increasing from north to south, and here is an Anamudi peak is a 2695 meter, and situated in a Kerala is the highest peak of southern India. There is important, and the Namu. This is a short of three junction of the Anamali range, the Cardamoms Hills and the Planning Hills. Kodai's canal is a beautifully restored, situated on the Planning Hills also here. Eastern Ghat is running from the south of west to the north from to the eastern edges of their peninsular plateau, and this range is known as the Purvachal also. The Eastern Ghat joined to the Sahadharis in the Naggiris hill aboarding Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. There is Karnataka and Tamil Nadu is an important state here. The Udam is Otus. Is Udam Mandalam is Otus. Is in the Nilgiri is the famous hill station of South India and lies in Tamil Nadu also. It was the summer resort to the governor of Madras presidency. The Eastern Ghat are not a continuous like to the Sahadharis. Is a Mahanadis is a Godavari's, Krishna, Penars, and the Kaveri's river have detected this range at the many places here. The plateau regions between to the Sahadaris and the Eastern Ghat is known as by numerous local names different regions. Telangana is the which is extended Andhra Pradesh is the name of such as a plateau. The river of Damodars flow through there is a Chota Nagpur plateau. The valley of this river is famous for its hugs coal deposit. And besides the coal, this region is a storehouse of a number of other minerals that is important. And here, important point arrive here, the shape of the Great Plateaus is a triangular. It can be divided into two major parts. The center highland and the peninsular plateaus here. The Aravallis and Vindhyas, Sahdari, Purvadaris and Anamalia and Karodoma as planning is Zado is Malika and Satpuras as the major hill of the Great Plateaus here. The Chambas, Narmada, Tapti, Mehamadis and Godavari, Krishna and Kaveris are major river of the Great Plateaus. There is important here. The one next important topic here, coastal plan. There is the most important for the exam view, coastal plan. What do you mean here, the coastal plan here? The Great Plateaus of India is surrounded by plains on all the sides. In the northern lies the Great Northern Plain and in the south, along the east and west lies there a coastal plain here. There is important here. The east coastal plain first of all here. East coastal plain extends along the coastal of Bay of Bengal for the Ganga Delta in the northern to be Kanyakumari in a south. The plain is bordered then to the western coastal plain and this plain include to the deltas of the river Mahanadi and Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri here. Chilka is a pulicate and the Kolahuris lake are of famous lagoons of this plain here. And this lake has been formed by the enclosing of a small part of the Bay of Bengal. Behind and sandbar, the lake Chilka is situated south of the delta of the Mahanadi. The lake of measuring 75 kilometers in a length, there is important here. The lake is a Pulicat is situated northern and Chennai city. The Koluris lake is situated between to the delta of Godavari and Krishna river. The east coastal plain is a fertile where a rice of there grow in a plenty. There is important here. The next best coastal plain here extends along the Arabian Sea from to the run of the Kutch in the northern to the Kanyakumari in the south. There is important here. Best coastal plain extending along to the Arabian Sea from the run of the Kutch in the north to the Kanyakumari in the south. Expect of the Gujarat plain. The western coastal plain are notable than to the eastern coastal plain from a southern Gujarat up to Mumbai and this plain is a comfortably bordered but is a narrow southward of the Mumbai's is occasionally is rocky domes and hill are visible in a plain of Gujarat. The run of Kutch and the plan of Kathiawar is the plan of Gujarat are made up to the black soil. This coastal strip extending from about 500 kilometers between to Daman and northern and Goa is the south is called Konkan. Konkan, there is an important. And this region is highly distracted and the coastal line is indented regularly with the several natural is herbivores. A number of small and seasonal rivers flow through this region. This is an important point. A number of small and seasonal regions flow through this region. The coastal Goa to be is a Mangalore is the called to the Karnataka coastal. That is important here. The coastal for the Goa to the Mangalore is the call to the Karnataka coastal, and this coastal is a Mangalore is about to the Kanyakumari is called there a Malabar coastal, and here the coastal plain is wider, and there are a number of long and narrow lagoons. There is important. There is a number of long and narrow lagoons. The air 40-kilometer long Bevannes is an example of this kind. And Kochi part is situated on the one of the lagoon. The our next topic is Indian Island. There is an important here. Indian islands here is important. There are two small group of island. There are two small group of island here. One of these is situated in the Bay of Bengal of the coastal Myanmar is known as the Andaman and Nicobar Island. There is important here. There is a small group of island here. One of the situated in the Bay of Bengal of the coastal Myanmar is known as the Andaman and Nicobar Island, and the other is known as the Lakshadweep. The other is here second here. Lakshadweep answered in the Arabian Sea of the coastal Kerala. The Andaman Island is consisted of north, middle, and south, and a little Andaman Island. The Port Villars is the capital city of entire Union Territory and is located in southern Andaman Island. The Port Villars is the capital city of entire Union Territory and is located in the southern Andaman Island. And this island group is separated by the 10-degree channel. They are separated by the 10-degree channel. To its south are situated in the Nicobar Island. They include Car Nicobar, Little Nicobar or Great Nicobar Island from north to south. The southernmost point of the Indian Union lies a Great Nicobar Island and he has been to name it after their Indira is a Indira Gandhi. There is an important point here. The southernmost point of the Indian Union lies a Great Nicobar Island has been to name it after Indira Gandhi. There is a UPSC examination question here. And this island repeated as a submarine chain of mountains. The Baroness Island is a Andamans is the Indian as a only active volcano. This island acts as the neighbors and air outpost of here. And our country is a view of its strategic location. And this island group face 7 countries. There is an important here. This island group face 7 countries here: Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka here. The Lakshadweep Islands are situated in the Arabian Sea off the coast of Kerala. All these islands are of the coral origin here, and they has been to built up by coral. The macroscopic polypus is all these islands are very small in a size. The largest island among these is a Minicoy has on the area of 4.5 square kilometer only. The Cavatrice is the capital city of Iceland group here. An important point here, the base coastal plain is extend along the Arabian Sea coastal, and there are coastal plain extend along the coastal of the Bay of Bengal. The east coastal plain are bordered than their best coastal plain here. The Lakshadweep Islands are situated in the Arabian Sea of the coastal of Kerala, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are situated in the Bay of Bengal of the coastal and Myanmar. And this location is highly strategic. There is an important point here. The one next important topic here, drainage system. Drainage system, there is an important here. The drainage patterns are system of the area, therefore to the system of flow of surface water mainly through their rivers and basin form. There is important here. The drainage pattern is a system on the area referred to the system of flow of surface water mainly through their rivers and basin form. The drainage system is a study streams and the direction in which they carry the surface water on area. The drainage system is related to a number of factors. For example, a slope of land and geologically structure is amount of their volume of water and velocity of the water. The surface as a runoff to the India is carrying by a number of small and large rivers. The drainage system of country can be studied with the reference to two parts of northern India and southern India here. There is an important point here, drainage system. The first point is also important here. Drainage system of North India. There is the pattern for the drainage system of North India here. The Himalayas play an important role in the drainage system of North India. There is an important point for the exam view. The Himalayas play an important role in the drainage system of northern India, and this because the river of northern India have there is a source is this mountain, and behind these are rivers different from those of South India, and they are still depending. There is the valley rather is rapidly, and the debris is eroded by these rivers are carried to the plain and the seas as a deposit there. This deposition is causing by their reduce is a velocity of the river water in the plain and deltas for a one to be necessary slope here. The important point. The Great Northern India Plains has been formed by the silt brought down by this river, and some of the Himalayan river are is older than to the Himalayas themselves, as the range of the Himalayas had been to rising upward, and this river were to equal there is the equal a busy of downward cutting from to deep is a Zerzo and valley, and consequently is a part of the valley of this river are very deep, and Georgias has been formed. The depth of the Indus Georgias are near Bunjis, Jammu and Kashmir is a 5,200 meters. And Satluj and Brahmaputra have also formed such as geysers. There is important here. The drainage system of northern India can be further subdivided into three subsystems: Indo system, Ganga system, and Brahmaputra system. The major rivers of Indo-basins are Indo, Jhelums, and Chenabs, Ravi, Vans, and the Satluj here. There is a major river Indo basin are the Indo, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Vans, and the Satluj here. The Ganga basin include to the Ram Ganga, Gangotra, and Gomtis, Ganda, Koshi, Yamuna, along with there is a southern tributaries. And Son and Damodar is the river, the major river of the Brahmaputra basins are Dilbang and the Lohit is Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, Tista and Sikkim. The West Bengal and the Bangladesh are Meghana, joint northern eastern the part of Bangladesh. The next point here, drainage system of southern India. There is an important here, drainage system of southern India here. The peninsular India is on ascent landmarks, and therefore the streams flow through this region are in their old stage. They have almost attained there is a base level of erosion, and their capacity to the eroded valley vertically has almost come to the negligible of stage. Now these stems are eroding there is a side at a slow pace, and this is resulting in the bordings of their valleys. Consequently, during a flood, there is a water spread over a large area. It is believed that at the time of the Himalayan origins and due to the movement associated with the mountain building process, the peninsula's block had a slightly tilt toward to the east, and this by is the bearings Narmada and Tapti. All the major rivers of South India flow toward to the east. Narmada and Tapti both flow through flood is a Rafti Valley. There is a flood or Rafti Valley here, and the major river of the drainage system of southern India are Mahanadis, Gogotri, Krishna, Pinars, and Kaveri is a magazine. There is the most important drainage system of South India here. And the slope of the northern part of the southern peninsula is to about to the north. Consequently, some of the stems originating in the Vindhyas flow to about to the north and join to the Yamuna and Ganga. Among these is a Chambal, Ken, and Bitwa. Singh and the Sun are the more important here. Here show the India is a major is a river here. Show the Ganga, Gangotri, Chambal. There is the most important river here. Krishna, Kaveris, Brahmaputra, Gangotri. There is the most important river system shown in this map. The difference between to the Himalaya river and peninsular river. There is an important point here. Difference between the Himalaya river and peninsular rivers here. The river which has been there is origin in the Himalayas are peninsular, and their rivers are flooded by their melting of ice and slow lying near the trunks of the glacier of the Great Himalayan range is a Himdgiri. There is important here. But in the river of South India, the flow of water is highly fluctuating, and will the river are spared during to the monsoon, they are almost dry to the during to long rainless month. And some of this river at the many places become a totally dry. There is an important point here. Our next topic is important here, diversity and complementary of the physiographic division. There is the most important point here, diversity and complementaries of physiographic development. You know that there is an important topic here, diversity and complementary of physiographic division here. The India is a possess of wide variety of landform and there are relief feature. The India possesses a wide variety of landform and relief feature. It's a young fall mountain of the northern has very bold and sharp feature. It's a young fall mountain of the northern have a very is a bold and sharp feature here, and they include a very long as well as a tall mountain range. They include a very long as well as a tall mountain range, and towering is a mountain peak, high mountain pass and precipitous rivers, valleys. If in one direction lies very steep slope, on the other there is a gently slope here. It's if is one of direction of lies very steep slope, on the other there is a gently slope. If some part are without thick is a forest, there other are clad with is a varied is a natural vegetation from the tropical rainforest to be alpine grassland, and there rightly is a boast of the large snow field, and the glacier picture squares waterfall along to the hanging valley and glaciers lake like a Dal and a Srinagar. Dal and Srinagar is important. The youthful Himalaya rivers are fair to jump, leap and hop, forming waterfall, and rapidly and cascade on their ways, and equally is the apps is inspiring are in the deep gorges, establishing balance between the steadily rising mountain range on the one hand and the silent down to cutting action of wetlands trans-Himalayan river like the Indo-Satluj and Brahmaputra on the other. No, not even to the handful of the countries can a boast of such as majestic and marine beauty of the youthful fold mountain. And this highest and largest mountain chain of the world has been embellished to Indian is a subcontinent to be deep. It's a unique culture by cuttings itself as a physical barrier between to the subcontinent and the rest of Asia. Whereas even more effective is it is a role as a climatical divide. And this physiographical division act as a storehouse. You know that this physiographical division act as a storehouse of snow and water. Snow of and water, and giving rise to the hundred of perennial river to be drained and irrigate one of the world as the largest and most fertile plants here. In fact, there are plants themselves are a gift of this mountain and river flowing from them. It is also a storehouse of hydel power and fuel boots, timber, and various forest product. And medicinal herbals, no extending some are strange wildlife species. No wonder if this region is able to be attract is a tourist from far and near both in summer and winter here. The northern plan R is a matchless expanse and this flat or dead is a level plan are mostly well drained and fairly well irrigated and through the use of surface and ground water. The main drinks river Oxbow Lakes is drained rivers, channels and a means of distributory help to break the monotony of this extremely level of plan. One forest land, it has now been to both under to the fog almost full. The lower part of the deltas are rebonded with the mangrove or tidal forest. This well water is plant supported by the high fertile soil. There's an important point. This well is watered is a plant supported by the highly fertile soil and produced a variety of crops and year after year sustaining their very large is a chunk of the world population and they have also been to supporting to equal large bodies population here. They are one of the world's largest food basket. There is an important point here. They are one of the world's largest food basket producing of the careless pulses, oil seeds, vegetables, fruits, beside in industrials and cash crop like cotton, jute, sugarcane and the like. That is important. In a sharp contrast with the northern mountain and plains stand the hills of the moderate altitudes and a highly denuded rocky landscape and representing one of the oldest is the landmarks of the world. The peninsular block of India, it is a rounded hill and flat topped ridges have a beauty and their oven. The varied is a metaphorics and all granites rock have a given rise to be hill, plateaus and floating rocks. Furthermore, is a best land is a Deccan Travel on Western India has it is a typically flat and rapid hill and ghat are stake-like. A structure. It is a deep wall like is a escarpment run for a miles and miles without interrupting. Overlooking their Arabian Sea, their beauty need to be seen and to be believed. The physiographics division is now for the malt and the various industry crops such as the cotton, sugarcane, coffee and groundnut here. The more importantly, it is the storehouse of minerals and especially their ferrous ones and minerals fuel like coal and atomics and radioactive minerals. They have also a sizable hydel power resource. They thus provide a sound base to develop both agro-based and mineral-based industry here. The coastal strips are rebonded with there is a coastline which is partly is regular and partly is indented. The latter has provide us spacious natural harbors like Mumbai and is mangoes. The coastal strips are island groups have ideal is a condition to tap deeps and shoal water fisheries and the coastal plain in the east have a very fertile deltas and provided to rice bowl. If it is a coastal emergence in the eastern coastal, then there a major part of the western coast is a total of submergence. This plain are rocky and highly eroded. The rice, coconut, rubber, tobacco and spices are some of the agriculture produced here. And off the shore is oil, natural gas. Field has also been to localized if the Lakshadweep are of the coral origin. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are a peak of emerging mountain chain. And these islands are of the great strategic significance to be a defense of the mainland and there face 7 different countries across the east washing their shores. There are stores here Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia and Sri Lanka. and the island are known as the fishing, forestry and tourism here. And this is how to the great diversity of macro and micro relief of features and land form has a contribute to entire our culture and as to agriculture potential and grow is almost every crops lie a strong foundation of modern industry is a making all the physiographical division totally interdependent one the another. There is an important point here diversity of macro. Macro mean here is a large number and the micro is a small number. There is a most important relief feature here present on this area.